I go back to the first game I ever started in NFL.
Yeah.
Is kind of when I had that Basu moment. You get a taste of the crowd. You see your family in the stadium. You feel the rumble of the stadium as you're on the field, as the offense is coming up. That was my first moment where I was like, okay, I've reached this point and I need to be better. Because I don't want to let this go. I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let the fans down. That moment of you have so much adrenaline in your body, and it gives me like goosebumps just thinking about it.
I actually got goosebumps thinking about
and that moment was probably my Basu moment.
This is the Basu Lifestyle Show. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, let us know what tools you use to overcome your obstacles, and how you're working to build a superior you in the comments below.
Welcome to the show, Abdullah Anderson. Thanks for coming on. So can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, high school, where you went to high school, and what you do now, just for people who really don't know you?
Yeah, I got you. Grew up in South Jersey, was born in Atlantic City, grew up in Galloway Township, went to Abscaming High School. At Abscaming High School, I played basketball all throughout high school, freshman to junior year. And then I finally caved into my football coach, begged me to play football my senior year. So I kind of walked on right before the season.
Or what? Why did he beg you?
So let's go all the way from the beginning. When I grew up, I played Little League. You know what I'm saying? I played Little League football for the Renegades, Galloway Renegades and the Galloway Mustangs, and played all my life. I actually snuck on the team for the Mustangs when I was like too young. So like I think the age gap was 5 years old. I was 4, but I was like a hefty 4-year-old. And my dad was like, "Yeah, go out there and play." So from then on, I've been in love with the game of football. So I played from the age of 4 all the way up until 8th grade. And it got to a point where I just kind of got, I don't want to say burnt out, but I just was tired of playing football. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because when I went to my dad and told him, I was like, "Hey, I'm not playing football in high school," he looked at me, he's like, "What?"
It's like, what were you? So this is 9th grade. So what was your like height and weight at?
So freshman year of high school, I was probably like 6'1", 6 foot. So when I went from 7th grade, I was probably like 5'10", and I had a big growth spurt going up to freshman year of high school. So I was probably like 6'1", 170, 180 at freshman year of high school.
That's lean though.
Yeah, it's real lean compared to me right now. I'm 6'4", 320 right now. And so I went up to him, I was like, "Hey, I don't want to play football." And he was like, "You sure? Like, what's the reason?" I was like, "I'm just tired of playing football." And I love playing basketball. So I wanted to focus on basketball and play basically in high school and play AAU in the off season. And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "As long as you're okay with it, like, I'm cool with it too." So I played basketball my freshman, sophomore, junior year, had a great basketball season. But I also started realizing my main goal was to get a full scholarship to college. I do not want my parents to pay for any sort of college. If I had to go join the crew team to get a full scholarship, that was my goal.
Whatever it takes.
You know what I'm saying? So that was my whole goal. And once I started realizing basketball wasn't going to fulfill that goal, I started looking inward to myself and say, "Okay, what do I need to do to get a full scholarship?"
Is that why your dad asked you, "Are you sure?" Because he knew that you could do football?
Yeah, basically. And so he was a big proponent of doing multiple sports instead of being focused just in on one sport, because
spread the eggs around.
Exactly. And also you get to experience more stuff you might not know you're really good at baseball, and then also you start playing.
And develop your skills. Basketball in shape was always different than football in shape.
Exactly.
Way different.
Exactly.
And then you're moving all year round. You're keeping active all year round.
Yeah. So I basically walked, like, it's funny. The story is they're going out to like Hell Week basically, where it's like the hardest week of practice before they start the season. And I'm in the basketball gym, kind of like shooting basketballs, and I kind of saw them go out, and I was like, you know what? It just came to my head, and I was like, I'm gonna go practice today.
I'm gonna go practice.
Yeah. So I went to the head coach, and me and him had a good relationship because he used to always see me through high school, through the hallways. He said, "Why are you not playing football? Come on!" Like, and all my friends growing up playing Renegades and Mustangs were in high school telling me the same thing, like, come play football. Like,
come hang with us,
exactly.
Right?
So I went up to him, I was like, "Hey, I think I want to play," and he's going out to practice. He kind of just stopped. He's like, "No, you serious?" I was like, "Yeah, can I play?" He's like,
You just made his game.
So he told the other coach,
"Hey, Chuck, you suck. You're out."
No, he told the other coach, like, "Hey, go handle that real quick." And he's like trying to teach me the stance. He's trying to put pads on me and stuff. And then from there, it just took off. So I played senior year of high school. and I had an amazing season.
Imagine being the kid on the field already, ready to go.
Exactly.
And he's like, I wonder what he's talking about. And he's like, oh, he's fucking joining.
He's taking
Second string.
So, what was your weight then? What was your height and weight?
I was probably 6'2", 6'3", 190.
And would they put you at position wise?
So they tried to put me at tight end, and I told them, I said, I want to hit somebody. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is that my coach Scuderi, he thought I was going to be like soft coming from playing from basketball, like, you know what I'm saying, the typical like, oh, he's going to be soft, like he's going to want to play offense. I was like, he tried to put me on tight end and like block and catch the ball, and I went up, so I was like, yo,
Non-aggressive positions.
I said, I need to play defense. I was like, you can put me anywhere on defense, I want to play defense. So he put me at defense end, because like I said, I was still skinny at the time, and I played defense end, and I kind of just balled out. And from there, he had connections to a guy named Joe Susan. He was the head coach of Bucknell University, and they coached together back in Rutgers when Shiano was the head coach. So they had connection through there. And he called Joe Susan up and said, "Hey, I got a guy. He's real raw. He only played 1 year of football. Come check him out." And they came out to a couple games and they saw me play. And then he was like, so Coach Scuderi told Susan, "Hey, he also played basketball." So Susan came out to a couple basketball games and saw me play basketball when the football season was done, and then met my parents, met me, and then offered me around the spot.
Wow.
Did he offer you the spot for the two-sport play, or just football?
Just for football, yeah, just for football.
Did you say anything about basketball? Like, what about basketball? He's like, you suck.
Nah. I just knew that I knew the basketball dreams were over.
Okay.
The funny story about basketball dreams, I think we were playing AU. So this is before I decided to play football. We have an AU tournament. We're going against some first-ranked team in the nation. And there's this guy, he's getting recruited by Villanova, getting recruited by all these big-name schools. And me, so he's like 6'7", 6'6". I'm still 6'2", and I got to play the five guard, the like center / power forward. And when I'm playing against him, and I start realizing that he was good, but he was still average, I started realizing I was like, they're recruiting for height and athleticism. Like, this guy, like, he's probably really good right now, but at the time I was like, he's not that good, but he has the height and he has the stuff you can't teach.
Yeah. They think they can figure it out.
Exactly, and that's just something that they weren't gonna. I feel as though that I was gonna achieve. You know, I can work 10 times as hard to try to get to a D1. Like, there's many routes that people take. They go
That was all based off, it was all
D2, D3.
predicated off of the goal of not having your parents pay for your education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once I started realizing that, I was like, look, put the dream aside, go play football, and I made it happen, and I achieved that goal of getting that full scholarship.
And you did that because you just wanted to, because your dad's pretty well known in the area
Mm-hmm.
as an entrepreneur and a successful business owner. You just didn't want them to pay for it. You wanted to pay your own way.
Exactly,
Respect.
and that's something too. Like, my mom's a teacher. My dad, he owns a barbershop in Atlantic City, and they're just always instilled that hard work on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to go get something, you got to earn it, you know. And
Yeah, it's not free.
exactly. So even if I didn't get a full scholarship, I knew that, okay, let's say I didn't go play sports in college, I knew I would have to get 2 jobs or something to pay for college. You know what I'm saying? That was just my mindset, and that was something that I got from them.
So, when was this basketball tournament in relation to when you decided to play football? Because I know you said
it was like junior year. Before, it was like that's so. Junior year, like start junior year happens. I don't play football. I train in the off, and like basically during football season, and then when school is getting done, you have AU season, like that summertime before my senior year. And then when I played that summertime before my senior year, and I started realizing I was like, hey, it's not happening. I was like, let's go out and play football.
Okay, so then you go to Bucknell.
Yep.
Do you start right away? How does that go?
So I get to Bucknell, and so remember, I was 6'2", 190. I really still don't know the game of football that well.
Yeah.
I just know that I 6'2", 190 playing defensive end in a D1 college. I was like, this is not happening.
Gotta get your weight up.
Exactly. So I started getting introduced to lifting weights. I go to the AC Pal with a guy named Sean Muhammad. We start lifting weights. We start, running on the beach and start working out, start eating more. And I go from 190 to about like 240, 250 in a matter of months before I go up there for like training camp.
That's a lot of eating.
Exactly. A lot of eating, and I never touched weights. Exactly. Like, I never touched weights in high school. And as a basketball player, you really just worry about dunking and exactly. So go from 190 to about 240. I'm still about like 6'2", 6'3". And when I get there, I start realizing that there's some good players there. You know what I'm saying? But my mindset was still I want to play, and I'm not just going to be sitting on the bench. I was like, I don't care if I'm a freshman, I'm going to come in here and take somebody's
You're putting
spot.
me in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm putting you in.
it's funny how life works because circumstances and luck also pairs up to how hard you work. So when I get there, unfortunately, the starting D tackle got hurt, like before the first game. And I was working while I was in the second string, and my coach came up to me, he's like, hey, you're gonna have to start this first game. Like, are you good? Like, cause you're a freshman, like he trying to figure out my mindset and stuff like that. So he's like, you're gonna start? I was like, I'm ready. I've been working basically all my life for this moment. I was like, I'm ready to do it. Go out there, have an amazing game, and from there on, I started every single game in college except for one game, from freshman year to senior year.
What was the one game? What was the reason?
One game I got like hurt real quick,
Okay.
and I just missed the game. I got hurt too close to the game. I couldn't tough it out.
So do you think, I know skills obviously really important, but do you think skills, mindset, or hard work is like the most important of the three?
Yeah, so can you work hard enough if you don't have the skill or the mindset to bridge that gap?
Yes.
Or do you require all three to get it done?
I think that you require all three, but I think that skill can definitely I feel like skill, you can get by other stuff by having more hard work than skill. Like, I've seen people 10 times better than me, and that's something I talk to you about all the time in this area. There were so many people better than me.
Yep.
Hands down, I can name 7 people that had more athleticism, were better football players, better basketball players, but also didn't do the extra work. Like, I
You
used
knew that they were good. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
exactly.
sometimes
Because
that's
sometimes
what
when
it's
you know
like.
you're good, it's
Yeah.
like, and I don't mean to shit on pretty people, but when you know you're pretty, you don't try as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you know that you're smart and you understand shit, you don't try as hard. That's the wrong mindset. It's backwards. Just because you got it, you should work harder to get to the next step, not just be cool where you're at. No, I get what you're saying.
And that's something too. It goes back to, and I ask my dad this all the time. And you're about to be a father. You were already a father, and I ask this to everybody. It's like, how do you instill that on your kid without being overpowered?
Yep.
And I ask my dad that all the time. Like, yo, how'd you get me to be a hard worker? He's like, I didn't do anything. I didn't force you to do it. It was kind of like you came to me. In high school, he used to.
Every kid wants to emulate their dad in some way, shape,
Exactly.
or form.
By example.
If you shove it down your throat, you're going to be like, fuck you, I'm out. But if you just let you be you and you're around it, you kind of absorb it like a sponge.
Exactly. And it goes back to it goes back to all weight, and it's both my parents. It goes back to when I was in Little League. So there was a weight limit when you were doing the Galway Mustangs, and I was overweight when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I used to tell my mom, like, hey, I need to lose weight so I can play. So mom used to put trash bags, like lather me up with Vaseline, put trash bags on me, and we used to run around the little football field over there in Gabriel Field to lose weight.
Yeah.
Rocky style.
Exactly, but I didn't know at the time, but that's what both my parents told me. Like, you came up to us and asked us to work hard.
Yeah.
I used to go to my dad and say, when I play basketball, hey, can you find out a gym I can go play in? He used to help me sneak into gyms and shoot shots and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just put up 1,000 shots. And same thing when we were in Afghanistan, he helped him and my mom helped the Booster Club to get a shooting machine because I wanted to shoot thousands of shots. And that's the same thing when I got to college. I started realizing that, okay, for me to not just be average, for me to be better, I need to do extra work. So instead of going to some parties, I missed a lot of parties, I missed a lot of events. There was concerts and stuff that I missed because I was going to the gym, or I was doing extra work, I was doing extra sprints. I remember it used to be me, a guy named Julian Davenport, and Evan Byers, and a couple other guys on the Bucknell football team. They used to go to this small auxiliary gym I can't remember if it was every Monday or Tuesday in the off season to go do extra work. And then that was just implemented on me. I was like, okay, I already done this before, now I have some other
You
guys.
found like your own kind of circle of people
Exactly.
that self-support.
You're
Exactly.
almost better with a small circle. I feel like a lot of people always think I need this big group of friends, but when you find that small circle of people who want to do the same shit you want to do, it's so much better than trying to fit into a group of 10 people.
Exactly.
Because you found the right people.
I
You are who you're trying to
love
solve.
people. I love people, and I'm lucky to say that I have a lot of friends. But my friends, I find that I consider my friends, like my brother, my friend, Leo, all these people. Here he comes. Told you. All these people in this realm, they're all doing their own thing in their own way, shape, or form, and pushing the envelope a little bit further. Like, they're people who I know, they don't need me to work hard because they're already working hard for themselves. And that's why I gravitate towards those kind of people, because that right mindset kind of unleashes that like next gear. Because I'm like, oh shit, I'm sitting here, I'm going to a concert tomorrow, but I know that he's over there and he's in the lab working on shit. I'm like, maybe I'll get a couple hours in the morning before I go in and just not take the whole day off, put some more time into what we're trying to fucking do. And so I respect that. I like that that's actually, and I like that you gave him a shout out too. I don't know if they're gonna hear it or not.
No, yeah, but it's just crazy, and to exactly your point. In sports, you need to find someone who works harder than you.
That was actually one of my questions. Did you have somebody, when you got into the league, I know that we're jumping from college to the NFL now, but even in the Patriot League, was there somebody as you were coming up who was like that older guy who was like you could look up to, or that he could be like, yo, come over here? And
when I was in college or when I was in NFL?
Either way.
So when I was in college, it was the guy who was my host was Julian Davenport. Mm-hmm. He was this 6'6", 6'7" offensive tackle that was just a beast. Everyone already said, like, yeah, he's going to the NFL. And at Bucknell, you don't hear that much. Okay. I think there's only 3 people that ever went to the NFL for Bucknell, maybe 4.
Really?
And me and him are one, or 2 of them. So, like, I was, okay, he was another reason why I went to Bucknell when I went and all this other stuff. So, him and a guy named Evan Byers. If you want to talk about the strongest human being you ever seen in your life, he was our starting middle linebacker my freshman and sophomore year. And when I tell you, first time seeing him, he's in the weight room like squatting 600 plus pounds, easy. And those 2 people were, when I was in college, I'm like, okay, like I want to be as good as them. I need to roll with them. And,
I'm gonna be their friend.
Exactly. Like, okay,
exactly.
Wherever they go, if whatever X work they're gonna do, I'm gonna do that plus more.
You're gonna link up.
Yeah.
It's like when you and I trained the first time. We didn't have to keep benching over 3s and 4s, but because you did, I didn't. Because I did, you're like, I'm gonna feel like shit tomorrow, but let's do it.
Exactly.
And I felt like I separated a tricep. It was great to feel that sore, but without somebody to push you, I would have been cool doing my normal workout.
Yeah.
And getting that 85-90% rate, like max effort. We went like 110% of what we normally do. I love that.
Yeah.
You're in the same room, it fires you up.
It does.
Even like when you and I have conversations on the phone during the week about what we're doing business-wise or what the next level is for anything that we're doing, not even just inclusive to Basu. It's like you hang up the phone and you're like, let's fucking go. It's like that fired me up and it wasn't even my conversation. Mm-hmm. I just like that next gear.
And also like hearing stories about the ups and downs of roller coasters of getting to where you are. You know, and that's something that I've experienced more in the NFL is seeing these guys that work hard and seeing the reason why they work hard. You know, there's a whole bunch of good players in the NFL, but those stories that, okay, I made it to the NFL, okay, I was a draft pick, but then I got cut, and then I had to go to the XFL or to the USFL, come back, and now I'm starting, and now I'm been in the league for 6 to 10 years. There's a guy right now on our team. He was in Europe. They have a program that helps European players come over and play in NFL. In Europe, came over, up and down on practice squad. Now he just got paid to play, and he's a beast. You know what I'm saying? So hearing those stories also like gives me energy of okay, like when you wake up in the morning like, oh, I don't feel like doing something. Well, I know that guy's working because he has a family and
that's their why.
Exactly.
We literally always thought we do what we do to support our why. Yeah. Or my why being my family. Your why could be completely different, but what was the why that put you towards, why were you doing all this extra work? It wasn't just for money. It wasn't just to compete against people who were doing more in the room. What was your why at the time then, and what is it currently?
My why was, so I was with my wife ever since senior year of high school. Yeah. And I knew that she was going to be my wife ever since then, basically. So my why was basically to take care of my future family and set myself up to have a security blanket that if something happens, I don't have to worry about. If something happens to me, exactly. I know that there's going to be outline in place for them to be successful and them to be okay. Another why was me. I'm a competitor, so it's funny because when I first got in the league, I was signed to the practice squad. You know, a practice squad is basically you're on the active 53, and then you have 16 other guys who they can bring you up to the 53, or you stay down and you just practice with the team.
Depending on need or injury. Right?
Exactly. I always strive to be not only on 53, but to start in the NFL. So seeing these other guys that are competitors, I needed to be on the same level and past that level. Like, if we're sitting, and it goes back to when we were lifting it, that competitive mindset is just instilled in me. I don't know where I get it from. I don't know if I get it from my parents. I don't know if I got it from my upbringing, but that is a big why. And another thing is the fear of not giving your all while you have it. Football, you only, the longest, the average, I guess you could say, years I've played in the league is 3 years. I'm at 6 now.
Is it really 3? That's it? 3 years?
Yeah, it's 2 to 3 years. That's the average.
Well, at least you're smart enough to understand the fucking risk and mitigate it by putting in the extra work and making sure that you have padding on the side of this fucking space.
Yeah. But it's just knowing that, okay, if I look back and I played 6 years, let's say this is my last year and I played 6 years and I didn't give my all, I'll be disappointed in
The
myself.
rest of your life, we talking about if I put in a little more work.
Yeah,
How
but
many guys do you think though are like that? Because the first time they get cut, they may just be like, I had this degree, I had these connections. Screw this, I'm gonna go just work, do this job, and then talk about it the rest of their life that they could have played. Do you think that that's bigger?
Yeah, do they pivot, like he's saying, or like do they just become like the begrudged Al Bundys of the world?
Well, so it can go both ways. So I've known people who played 1 year, 2 years, and they start realizing, okay, you get cut, you go for a workout, you go for a tryout, it doesn't work out, and then once they get done with that, they're like, all right, well, I have an amazing degree in computer science or whatever it is. I can get a job that is more secure. The thing about the NFL is my job's never secure. I can get a call right now and they can say, hey, we need you to fly out and we're gonna let you go, just because they found somebody better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes that is the deterrent from the NFL that people can't handle.
Because you're not an employee, right? You're a contractor.
Exactly, yeah. And that's something that, another thing too, is you got to factor your family into it too. I got to give kudos to my wife because she's been through so many ups and downs during my whole career in the NFL. And being a wife of an NFL athlete, everyone tries to say, oh, you know what I'm saying, they're okay, they got all this money. It's really hard not knowing where you're going to be at every single year. If you're not a first round, second round, third round draft pick, and you don't, and even if you're a first round draft pick, I've seen first round draft pick get drafted to a team, they try to put him in, play him, and then all of a sudden gets to 4 years, he gets cut, and then he's going from team to team to team to team to team. So imagine.
Let's talk about that. How many teams have you been on since from Patriot League? What is the Patriot League for people who don't know what the Patriot League is?
The Patriot League is basically D1, it's FCS college football. It's consisted of Bucknell, Lehigh, Lafayette, Fordham, and Georgetown. And it's basically the college conference I was in.
Right. So after the Patriot League, where's your first chops hit for the NFL?
So after the Patriot League, I went to the Chicago Bears, undrafted to the Chicago Bears. So every year there's an NFL draft, everyone knows. The NFL draft happens, 1 through 7 rounds, no one called.
Did you expect to get called? Did you think you were going to get called? What was that like?
So people on the outside were saying I was going to be a late round draft pick, but I always prepare for the worst.
Okay.
So I knew that I was like, okay, what's going to happen if it doesn't happen?
This is the worst.
Where am I
possible
working out
scenario.
tomorrow so somebody else can see me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So go through that process. The draft is ending, and teams call you. You get a call from Carolina, you get a call from Arizona, you get a call from all these different teams saying, hey, so there's a difference between being an undrafted free agent. You get an undrafted free agent contract, but then there's also tryouts. So I was fortunate enough to be an undrafted free agent. They called me up and said, hey, it was Chicago Bears. We want to sign you as an undrafted free agent. They sign you on the contract, and you go out to rookie minicamp, and you go, this rookie minicamp is basically kind of a tryout with all the other rookies and other players that are maybe like 1 or 2 years in the league. So there's that, and there's also tryout people. So one of my friends, he just got done doing the draft, and he didn't get an undrafted rookie contract. He got called to just come out to rookie minicamp and try out. And there's no, like, you go out there, you practice, and if they like you, they keep you. If not, you go home. And
It's just like that. It's cut
it's
and dry.
just, exactly. And then so I go to Chicago Bears, go to rookie minicamp, go training camp, end up still getting cut, but they say, hey, we want to keep you on the practice squad. Cool. I knew this was just a benefit to just make it this far.
Yeah, you still get to practice with the guys.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm gonna just be a sponge. I'm gonna use it because remember in college I didn't have a redshirt year. I played 1 year of high school, then played 4 years of college ball and started and just kind of figured it out with my coaches and myself.
Yep.
So having that year of watching a great defense, because I was on the Chicago Bears in 2018, we had the top 5 defense in the league that whole year. Had Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, Roy Robertson Harris, Leonard Floyd. We had Roquan Smith at middle linebacker. We had Dennis Trevathan. We had amazing safeties, amazing corners. Like, it was probably the best defense I've been a part of so far. And learning from those guys' work ethic, how they played, learning the game more was a great benefit to me. So played my rookie year there. Then next year, they retained me on the team. I go to training camp and end up making the 53. Played the whole year on the Chicago Bears, making the 53, playing in real games, and had a great year. Next year was COVID year. So it was kind of weird because during COVID,
Doesn't it feel like so long ago? That's relatively only 2 seasons.
Basically, yeah. So COVID, like, that was like the first initiative. So I remember going into spring, like OTA, like this time, going into workouts, and we had to just stop going to workouts. They were like, hey, like, everyone has to go home. So
you guys played, wasn't there a season just no fans?
Yeah, so during the preseason though, we didn't have any preseason
Right.
games. So that's hard for a dude like me who's trying to make the team every year because the GMs and the coaches don't see how you've progressed from. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. Like, so the biggest thing about NFL is progression. So, okay, first year I was on practice squad. I went that off season hard as I ever possibly did to go to the next season. I obviously played a lot better because I made the 53. Went the whole season, played well, had tackles, had sacks. Then going into that next season, they want to see you progress every single season.
Yeah.
So when you don't have a preseason game, we barely even have practices.
How do they calculate your progression? Are you on some kind of like drop sheet where they can say, hey, listen, this is what he did this in, this is what he's lifting, this is how he's playing, or they just kind of just watch it and decide on their own?
I think it's more so this is kind of me just speaking from seeing on the outside. I haven't been in those rooms, but it goes from GM to pro scouts to college scouts, and it's basically like
So it's like a funnel.
Exactly, a funnel of, okay, you have this person watching the team, okay? You have this person watching college players that are coming out of the draft. You have another person watching pro players, and they're basically comparing everyone.
Yeah.
So if I'm on the team of Chicago Bears, okay, cool. Abdullah, he has this trait, this trait, this trait, that's good. He has this trait, this trait, this trait, that's bad. Okay, is he going to be able to fit, and is he going to help this team take us to the next level? Because
That's what they want.
the goal is a Super Bowl. Exactly, the goal is a Super Bowl. If he can't do that, we're going to go out and all those cons that Abdullah Anderson has, we're going to go find somebody that fills those cons, that's going to make this team better.
Yeah.
So you're not only fighting against the people that are on the team, you're fighting against however many people that are at home, however many people on other teams, however many people are coming out of college.
You got to watch out for the young ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every year
There's more and more.
hundreds of
hitting the field, right?
hundreds of kids that are hungry and wanting to play.
Want to hit harder and freaking don't give a shit about how they feel in the morning.
Exactly.
And you made it technically, where they haven't made it yet, so they have that fire.
Exactly.
You have to keep
Do you feel
stoking
like
your
the
fire.
people coming in have something to prove?
100%.
Yeah, to you guys as other players, or I know they got to prove it to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're coming on, if they're redshirting, or if they're trying out, or even if they're on the practice, do they have to still prove themselves as a player to you guys? Or is everybody like wildly accepted in, or is there still like that proving ground?
I think every team is different.
Yeah.
The
Because there's leaders on every team, right?
exactly, but it's also so from my experience, there's more older teams where you have a more vet type group, and then there's younger teams. Older teams are just from my experience more willing to say, okay, young guy, this is how we do things.
Right.
You know, when you walk in, this is how you dress, this is how you practice, this is how you do this. With a younger team, we're all trying to figure out, like, as young, it's chaos. It's like, oh, like what I do? I'm still trying to figure out what I'm trying to do. Why am I going to help you? You trying to take my spot? You know what I'm saying? So, but my thing is, I'm a big proponent of. I've been at home on the couch. This before, so 2 seasons. Right now, I'm on the Commanders. Before I played for the Atlanta Falcons last year, from the end of the season prior to training camp, I was assigned to a team. So I didn't go to OTAs, which I'm doing right now. I missed like training camp, half a training camp before I went to the Atlanta Falcons. So I was at home just working out, you know? So me knowing that whenever a kid comes in, I try to take him under my wing and say, hey, look, Like this is what you do. This is what you have to worry about. You know, our coach likes how this person plays like this, so we need to play this block and play this type of defense. You might have played this type of defense in a different type of defense in college, but this is how we do things here. Like trying to help them out, because I never want to. There are people that like try to sabotage or just try to gatekeep.
Discourage or disparage.
Exactly. Because that was me. Like I was very fortunate enough to have good mentors coming into the league that helped me out. So I want to do that for the young guys.
Yeah, and it's good karma too, compared to being the person trying to sabotage them.
Exactly, and that's just not good.
When people get your name in your mouth with that fucking sour to it, it just doesn't go away.
Yeah, at all.
You're not gonna, even if you switch 5 teams, someone's gonna know you from some other team or have heard about that shit. You just don't want it out there.
Exactly.
So there was like a year or two stretch where you went to like multiple teams. So I guess you were getting cut from the squads. From what I researched, it was like Vikings, Steelers, Packers, Titans, back to Packers.
Yeah, so basically from Chicago Bears, that COVID year, they let me go and I went to the Vikings. So the whole year on the Vikings, I was on practice squad and I was kind of like up and down from practice squad. So I just stayed on the Vikings the whole year. Got done that year. They didn't resign me. I went to the office. They said, "Hey, look, we had a great year, but we're gonna go somewhere else." I was like, "Okay, cool." So went back home, had workouts with different teams. Ended up going from the Vikings to the Pittsburgh Steelers for just off season. So basically OTAs and training camp.
Yeah.
Went through the whole training camp, and it's the same thing. You go to the training camp, they have the first wave of cuts. They call you up and say, "Hey, bring your iPad," and you kind of have like a sinking feeling because you just did all this work. You're thinking that you're gonna play. Then you go to the gym. They say, "Hey, really liked what you did. Sorry, we just don't have enough spots. See you later. Here's your plane ticket. Go back home." So you basically go from there. Go back home. You're on your phone. Your agent say, "All right, what happens now?" Well, we got a couple workouts with this team, this team, this team. You fly from home to this team, you work out. When you're done working out, you go to GM. "Hey, what's up? Yeah, you had a really great workout. Just not what we're looking for. We're looking for going in a different direction." Or maybe you're working out, let's say there's a D tackle, a tight end, and an O-lineman. Whatever their needs are, they're going to take that person. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, cool. Get back on a plane. Go back home. "All right, agent, where are we going now?" "Okay, bet. This is where we're going." Go to another workout, to another city. You might go from the East Coast to the West Coast. They might fly you out from, let's say if you're working out in Florida, they might fly you all the way over to California if they want to see you work out. So you're not at home for a couple of days. That's why I say that my wife has dealt with a lot, and even my family, of just the unknown of where I'm going to be and where we're going to be.
Where's that right now?
Exactly. And this was before we even had a house. So I was very fortunate enough that my parents and her parents were like, we were kind of like living with them while I was trying to figure this stuff out. And she's working. She's still over here working 2 jobs. So like kudos to her, like going through all that. So basically went from the Vikings to Pittsburgh from Pittsburgh, I got signed to the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, first day, was good. I went in there, made the practice squad, and then because of like roster moves or something like that, they needed somebody else for a different position. So I got let go, and then went to the Titans for a little bit, and then went back to the Packers because they had a D lineman I think got hurt or something like that, and then played a couple games. I got another credit season, which is something that you're aiming for as an NFL player, is to get 3 credit seasons to get benefits and stuff like that. So then when the Packers season was over, I think we made the playoffs that year, and then we had a bye, and then we lost to the 49ers. Same thing. They called me in the office. They're like, "Hey, you did a great job this year. You're a hard worker. It's just we're going to go in a different direction." So after the Packers,
you kind of get used to that at that point, just part of the job.
It becomes numb.
It's not the end all be all until you make that decision, right?
Exactly. It becomes numb at some point, and that's why I try to tell young players. And it goes back to your question before about the NFL life is whether you want it or not. I could have gave up after the Chicago Bears.
Dude, it sounds like a fucking band going on concert. Like like you don't even know what city you're in until you say yes.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, no.
So is perseverance kind of the biggest quality that you have to have when you're trying to make a team and get those vested?
It's like metal and grit.
Yeah, 100%. Perseverance, faith in yourself. Faith. There's been a couple times where you want to question yourself whether, am I good enough? I could keep on getting cut by teams. Something must be wrong. You know what I'm saying? But then it might not be that. It might just be they have a different vision. They have a different coaching staff. They have a different way they want to do things. It's a whole bunch of different things that go into the fact. It's just a matter of, are you willing to sacrifice your time, your well-being, your mental health to pursue this goal of playing in the league.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of mental fortitude and toughness, dude. There's actually books written about mental that like describe exactly what you're talking about and how I think what was it? I think when I read it, it was a reading that I did when I was in police academy. It was like 94% of people faced with adversity walk away. Your whole career has been adversity because you don't know, nothing's guaranteed.
Yep.
So you get to every single time grab yourself by the fucking boots and just go to the next space and make it work, which, yeah, I can see a lot of people would say, fuck it, I'll go back to my degree and I'll fall back on that. Because you got a lot of people just don't understand that a lot of you guys have such higher education. Like, you went to school for economics.
Yep.
My friend Jimmy went to school, he's an electrical engineer, or a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
Like, he has an engineering degree from Brown. Like, it's not just a bunch of big guys hitting each other.
Mm-hmm.
There is life after what is life after the field for you?
Life after the field for me is going to be in many different directions. Like you said, like we talked about before, my dad's an entrepreneur, and I feel like that's a route I want to go into. And also being in the league this long, there's a position in the league I would love to be. It's called player engagement, and it's basically how I operate right now. It takes care of the young players when they come in, and take care of the players while they're already in the league. Another thing too is
that like every team has that?
Every team has that role where it's basically you're in this role, and whatever the players need, they take care of.
Okay.
You need housing, you need help with transportation, you need help with anything. They handle that. And also when the rookies come in, they do programs for the rookies about teaching financial literacy, teaching how to manage your social life when you're in the league, and just basically all around help. So that's also a route I could take. Entrepreneurship, I'm really big into real estate, and we talked about before, and then just all around just being in the community. That's one thing that I've done recently was host that camp. That you helped me out with.
Tell us about the camp. Tell us what it is and what the point of it is, what you hope to achieve through the program.
So the biggest thing was introducing the game of football to young players from, I think it was K through 8, and teaching the basics of the game of football, and also not even getting them out there just having fun. I'm a big proponent of having kids outside and be out in the fresh air, have fun with other kids, and do something that is enjoyable. Create competition, create fun, and all around good atmosphere. And then for the high school portion, I wanted to bring that NFL aspect more towards the high school portion, and we did a combine for for about 5 or 6 high schools in the local area. So basically they got their 40 time, their 5-10-5, L drill, height, weight, vertical, and broad jump, and kind of introduce them to like, this is what the pros do to get to the NFL. This is what you guys can do to get to the college level.
Yeah. So
and you have
show
that
them
benchmark
standards.
that you can look at every single year, even as a kid, and be like, oh, I got slower, oh, I got this, I need to work to get faster, I need to get stronger.
Exactly.
Which isn't something you think about until you get older, really, is setting that benchmark to keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the events I really was upset that when I was injured I couldn't go to. I could barely walk. But when Leo and Jason went out, they were like, dude, there's like 300 kids here.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids.
There's not a single person not smiling. And they were having a ball.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That was the first one, but that was just you. That was just you doing that with the city of Atlantic City, right?
Yeah.
What was the driving purpose for that?
So the city of Atlantic City.
And what was your personal goal?
So my personal. So I always wanted to do a camp, but my biggest thing is, I didn't want it to be about me.
Yeah.
You know,
those kids for sure.
Exactly. Like so that's why I was always hesitant about doing camps, because I always wanted to do it with a whole group. I didn't want to just be like, okay, Abdullah Anderson's camp. I wanted it to be about the city, be about South Jersey, be about the community. So when Atlantic City came up to me and said, hey, look, we want to do a camp with you, I was like, perfect. I'm going to work with the city of Atlantic City Recreation to host this camp, and we're going to join together to give this day to the kids and to high school kids. I was like, perfect. Another thing too is I wanted to give the high school kids an experience that I've never had.
Is that because they don't really come to AC to draft people? It's not like a heavily drafted area, or you just wanted to kind of introduce them to what possibilities were? Because you're kind of a hometown hero when it comes to, you know, Absegami, Galloway, Absecon, Atlantic City, because people know your family for one, but now they also know you and what you've been able to achieve.
Yeah,
some of these kids will never get that opportunity
exactly.
unless somebody like you steps in to kind of offer it to them, or at least say, hey, listen, there is life.
And another thing too was just also putting these kids in front of other NFL athletes. So when we were at the camp, I brought in other NFL athletes, other D linemen, O linemen, tight ends, and I also brought in Division I athletes. So I wanted to put them in front of people that been in the NFL, has started, has won games, have won Super Bowls, and I think that helps with younger kids. When you see that person, you're like, oh, I can touch them, I can feel them, like it can happen.
This isn't
It's
TV,
tangible.
yeah.
Exactly. See, it's separate seen it on TV, and that's something I just wanted to give back to the community. Like, I want to bring back South Jersey sports and put it into the tier of Texas, Florida. Like, I want to be able to come back 5 years from now, and when my kids go into high school, it is the best sports group.
It's known for that.
Exactly, and that's something I want to bring back to South Jersey.
What do you think would be a way? So you gave them this benchmark of athletic ability, but how do you get the mental aspect of it, the physical aspects of it, incorporated into that? I know obviously that's like a long-term thing, but you know what I mean? Like, say they have the skill, but like, okay, so here's my time now. How do I get faster? How do I, get the practice? How do I develop that mental? Because if you don't have a good family structure, like we all come from good family structures, you may not have that. You may not have a parent telling you this, that, and the other to make you want to work hard, and you just go through the motions of life.
Yeah, but that's also trying to introduce people to, like, Tony, you know what I'm saying? Introducing these kids to people like Tony and other people in the South Jersey of saying, look, you have help. You have Wolf Gym right here, and if you really want to go out there and become bigger, faster, stronger, here's this guy right here you can talk to and get tips. You know what I'm saying? He's trained the best of the best in the world. So it's bringing those communities together for the kids and say, look, okay, let's say even sports doesn't work out for you. You said legal was out there. Let's talk about financial literacy. That's the next progression of the camps is
That's
not
what I
only.
was gonna say. I think you should, as having an economics degree and being so savvy with how money works and real estate and other avenues, that would be like, they might not understand what the value is today.
Yeah.
But making them sit in there as part of the process, they'll understand what that value is when they're 20, when they're 25, when they're 30, when they're trying to figure out, okay, I want to own a house one day, or maybe I don't, but I want to be able to travel, or I want to be able to retire when I'm fucking 65.
Exactly. And also, like, I really want to do something where it's a weekend camp. Okay, one day it's football, but the next day it's talking about, let's say we're talking about high school kids, right?
Yeah.
First day is football. Second day it's talking about financial literacy, stocks, real estate, entrepreneurship. Okay, cool. And then it's also bringing in people with regular jobs who are making good money, truck drivers, people who own their own businesses, and bringing those people to the forefront.
Like tradesmen too.
Tradesmen, exactly, and getting these kids to realize that
Education doesn't have to be a 4-year institution.
Exactly.
And you can still make good money. They're kids are only really going to care about dollar signs, right? But it's not going to click until they're like, well, I'm not going to get into college or they can't afford it, but I can go to trade school.
Exactly.
Because you don't have to, it doesn't have to be, I can't go to college, I can't afford it, then I don't do nothing or anything. It's, okay, I can go to trade school because it was introduced to me. I understand that electricians, electrical engineers, all these other people can go that route and still make over 6 figures. I love that idea.
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing, because I don't want to just be like, oh, sports is the only way out, because I've seen it be the bad way. Like, oh, I want to go sports all in, and then you don't have a plan B, and then it's kind of like, oh,
you just live the rest of your life just talking about if I made it, but like you're 18 or you're 20, like you have a lot of life left. You're gonna live to at least 80.
I think it's important to tell kids that there's no such thing as stuck when you're in your teens. You're here for now, not forever, unless you choose to be here forever. There's always a way out. It doesn't have to be on the football field. It doesn't have to be in the military. There's other avenues to which you can do things that get you. If you really need to get out, there's other avenues to fucking do it. And I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Because if not, people kind of get stuck, and it's just a perpetual cycle. It's almost like, I'm not talking about crime, but it's almost like recidivism. Like, I'm stuck here, so I'm just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again because nothing's going to change. And then you pass that on to your kids. That creates generational stuckness. And I think that's something that I would 100% help with that.
Yeah,
I would love that idea. I'm just running it through my brain, and I'm like, fuck yeah, man, we could do this.
And it's something that can be an event, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, the first day football, second day doing all this stuff, and then the last thing is mental health. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something that ties all those 3 components together of, okay, let's say you do feel stuck. Okay, you do have a plan, but having a good mentality, a healthy mentality can take you further on. And, you know, that can be through therapy, that can be through just talking to somebody, that can be through talking to Tony. Okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know where to start. Like, when I first talked to him and heard his story, I was like, oh, okay. Some people will give you a little bit of the story. They're like, oh, yeah, I own this. This is how I did it. Okay, cool. But some people need a plan. I need you to know what happened when you left high school. What'd you do? What happened when you got to your first property? How'd you make a down payment? Okay, how'd you fund it? How'd you make an outline? How'd you make a business plan? Like, being able to talk and have those conversations are going to help kids.
It was barbell therapy. We were working it out and we were just talking. We were just having a real conversation.
Yeah.
It went on for it was like a 2 hour. It was an amazing lift. I'll tell you that. But it was a great conversation too because it kind of put us into the same understanding of who we are. That's how we became friends.
Yeah.
It was just like shit, and I love the organicness of it. But that's what the gym is for me. I get to work out and get my shit, whatever's going up on here, I get to get all that energy out and kind of focus on what the day's attack plan is. But then also if I'm working out with somebody, we're just gonna push ourselves and sweat and curse all over the place, but we're gonna have great conversation too because there's always that little gap between a movement or while you're doing a set and it's starting to get shitty, I'm gonna talk so I can distract you from how shitty it is so you can push even fucking further and get over with. And then we get to once everything's on the table, you can figure out who everybody really is.
Exactly.
No, I love the idea of that.
Yeah, to work on personal development and self-belief and all of that is one of the most important things that's overlooked. And now everything's so clickbait, just watch the video instead of reading books, developing yourself.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize that everybody has the voice in their head that tells them not to do shit, the bitch voice. But it's just getting over, it's just fighting it every single day. But it's something that you don't realize until you read the books, until you do the work to realize that it's always going to be there. Everybody has it, just fight it each day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that teaching kids the importance of money and financial acuity is huge. My 18-year-old son came to me when he came to meet our newest baby Bo, and said, "Hey, Dad, I want to open an investment account. Can you teach me how it works?" Because he's like, "I don't know how any of this works." And so we opened him up a little Robinhood, just so I could look at it and make sure that I could gift him stocks when it instead of a $50 for an A, I'm going to gift you a share under the agreement that you're never going to sell these because I'm not giving you cash, I'm giving you investment. And so once we kind of sat down and broke down the way that it works, I'm like, dude, you can work and do what you want in life as long as you're so young. When you're in your 30s, to catch up from not investing into your 30s, you got to put in $1,000 a month, if not more, so that you can retire healthily in your 60s. At 18, you could put in $200 a month, and assuming an aggregate of 9% return when up markets are up and down markets are down, you're going to be a millionaire when you're 65. And you're never going to remember that you put $200 in a month, especially when you're an adult. $200 to you, once you have whatever job that you're going after, is going to be a nothing. Mm-hmm. But because it's on a set it and forget it, it's always going to work in your benefit. If we can teach a bunch of kids that, it doesn't have to be 200. Kids can start off with $10 a week buying fractional shares, just as long as they know that it's not free spending money. They need to understand, if you spend it, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. It's not non-taxable income or whatever. It's capital gains, which is going to be a little more aggressive. You're only putting it in there because you don't need it. If you need it tomorrow, you're not going to invest it. I found a bunch of our gym members, our younger kids, during COVID when the market was such a shit show, everybody was talking about, oh, I'm buying all these stocks, buying everything, and I'm selling it the next day. I'm like, great, so you made $100 off of a $1,000 investment, but now you've got to pay capital gains on it. What's that?
Exactly.
You'll find out at tax time.
But it was all hype too.
Yeah.
People aren't even talking about stocks and investing now. That kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you were saying is the hardest thing in the generation, my generation and the generation below, is FOMO. The fear, or what's it called?
Yeah. FOMO. Fear of missing out.
Yeah, you're on TikTok, you're on YouTube, you're watching all this stuff, and the first thing is, how do you make $1 million? Well, you got to do this, and this, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, let's do that, but you don't get the full experience of, okay, what do I need to do? Let me take a step back. How do I talk to somebody who actually has done it? Every time I go on TikTok, it's do you want to be a millionaire? Do real estate. And then there's another one comes up. Forget real estate. You want to be a millionaire? Go into stocks. There's another one. If you want to get into a millionaire, use drop ship and all this other stuff, and you're going into 16 different directions instead of getting focused in on, okay, what do I like to do?
That shit should be regulated. You shouldn't be allowed to say that shit.
You can't do
No,
that.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it's just, you're gonna get people who, I'm not gonna use the word dumb, because that's rude, but you're gonna get people who aren't savvy enough to do their own due diligence, and then you're gonna get, like, false investment hopes, and then they're gonna find out, oh, I put in $10,000 in my life savings, I'm gonna make it big, and then it just blows up. And then they're lost, they lose it all, and they probably won't go back to restarting it because then they've lost trust in the way that shit works.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
I mean,
you said,
obviously you
everything.
can't enforce it. There's
And
no
now it's
liability
like,
on the
now
words.
they've even gone down to, because everybody's already pushed the stocks, the real estate. It's like, well, with this business, painting stripes, and it's like, that business is not grown overnight. No construction or renovation business you're going to build in one fucking year.
Exactly.
And you have to know some kind of part of how to do the trade or hire the right people. You're not just going to walk in there and run this multi-million-dollar business in a year. But in the 4 slides or the 10-second video, it's easy. I'm starting tomorrow. I'm gonna get my LLC. That's all I need.
And that's how I feel like too. Even doing real estate, everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, do Airbnb. It's so easy." It's not easy.
No.
It's not easy. You need a
I mean,
team.
You're talking to a realtor who also, like, they flip and invest in properties. Like, if he says it's not easy, I believe it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, it's like with us.
crazy.
So I spent 19 years in the industry of fitness. Yeah, my entire adult life. And it took me 10 years of dreaming about starting multiple locations in a franchise while owning singular locations almost the entire time to finally get to a spot where we've done it, right? And that we only did it now because we're at a point where if you wanted to come to me and say, hey, Tony, I really want to open a Wolf Fitness, I want to open a gym, I'll be like, yeah, I can do that for you. I can do that with you. I can show you how. We've created the documents and the guides and the rules and regulations to stay at brand standard. We've done all of the work to file legally. I couldn't have said that before. So anybody who's ever said, oh, you should open a Wolf near us, my brain was always like, how the fuck am I going to staff a Wolf out there? How far is it from here? How far do I have to drive? Because there was no team structure built into a spot where I could say, hey, listen, Jason, you're going to be in, name a fucking city, Camden this week, running that location. This just wasn't a real reality. Mm-hmm. So what he said was, you can't start a painting business today, and then tomorrow your phone's ringing off the hook because you haven't built the structure to support the actual business itself. You might not even be a painter, but you started a painting business. Now you got to go hire painters, and you got to take on employees so that they can go and do jobs. You don't even know how to bid a job. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying have all the steps in place before you take that jump. Or at least somebody in your team or in your corner that's going to have their hand on your shoulder saying, hey, listen, that's the wrong turn. Let's go this way.
Exactly.
Let's do this route, because going that way, I've been down that way, and I'm saving you from a pitfall. If you want to experience it, by all means, go fall in that pit. I'll dig you out. But if we go this way, there's going to be more of a benefit to you and your family.
Yeah. And then that's something that I think that we need more in our community is instead of gatekeeping, is learning from other people who've already been through the steps. And
gatekeeping only keeps you and I safe.
Exactly.
People trying to get in.
Exactly. And that's what I want to create for the younger generation. Is I feel like there's so much fear and so much anxiety of not knowing the steps, and bringing people that like him, like my father, like other entrepreneurs who created their own business from the ground up, and like you said, didn't just take one day, it took years, and telling people that, saying, okay, let's say you want to open, we're talking about painting, you want to open a painting company, okay, you know that's not, you might not make profit for, a couple years. What's the goose egg? Like, or what's your
how are you going to float yourself?
Exactly. So
yeah.
That's something that I think needs to be more, especially in this community, because in football, the great thing about football, it takes you around the country. A lot of kids from this community think this is all it.
This is the world.
Exactly. There's so much more to it.
Where it's like a 7-mile blip.
Exactly. And seeing other cities, seeing other towns and how they operate, how the economy is, opens your eyes to say, oh, there's much more.
That's like travel in general.
Exactly.
Like once you start going to other countries, it makes you more grateful for what we have here when you go to like countries that aren't as developed.
Yeah.
But if you don't get out and see it, you just listen to what you're told or what you see and what's around you, and you never grow up.
Exactly.
That's why we got to make that football camp you're talking about like a 3-hour bus ride.
Yeah, true.
They have to get out of the area. They get to see they get to pass through Philly. It's do it in the Poconos for all it matters. They're going to pass through Philly. They're going to pass through suburbia. They're going to see life outside of wherever we're at, wherever they're coming from, and be like, hey, listen, you aren't just stuck. If you want to say the word stuck, whatever, you're not just stuck. in South Jersey or in Central Florida or in Butt Texas or Montana, wherever the fuck you are. That's not it for everything. Like, you might not have a car, but we got a bus. We'll get you out.
Exactly.
See what's going on.
And when I say this community, I'm glad you said that. It's not just a community.
I knew what you were talking about.
There's so many other places that people just feel as though that this is their life and this is all you
got
can
people
have.
in California who live on the beach who've been like, oh, I've never been outside the state. I don't know what's across those lines. I'm stuck here.
Yeah.
You're not stuck. You just haven't tried.
Yeah.
Or no one's offered to help.
No one's offered to help,
and you also haven't tried.
Exactly.
Like, you're at fault too, as long as you're not a kid. Kids can't be at fault for that. They don't have the means or the ability or the understanding of getting outside these walls.
Well, that's what I was about to ask you too. Is as you're raising your kids, are you teaching them to talk and communicate to other people? Like so, for instance, like when I was a kid, I was very shy. My dad was a barber, so everyone knows who I am.
Social butterfly.
Yeah, and my dad, you go into the barber shop, hey, what's up, little Ab? So I got bombarded by all this, sense. I'm like, so I used to just be like this, now talk. And that was something that I'm glad that my dad told me or
pushed you to
push
with him.
Exactly, pushed me. It was his biggest thing, and as a kid you didn't know. Like he was like, look, like talk to people. Like networking is what gets you to that next level.
Yep.
Like everyone thinks, what I'm saying? Networking is the biggest is the biggest thing you can have and a skill that you can learn to talk to people, to give your experience and then also to listen to other people's experience. So when you're raising your kids, like how do you implement into your kids?
So for me personally, my oldest son Tristan, I started opening gyms when he'll be 19 this August. He was probably, my first gym open, he was like 3 or 4.
Mm.
He was at the front desk greeting people, talking to people. Like I'd be training clients in my studio and he'd be on the gym floor doing his thing, playing with his toys, like not in anybody's way, but he was always a part of the conversation. And I'd be like, hey Tristan, can you get so-and-so a bottle of water? And he'd be like, yeah, of course. Like he'd go get it and he'd give it to her. And then she'd say thank you and I'd say, what do you say? He's like, you're welcome. And then that transitioned into, hey buddy, can you sell her water please? And then he learned how to run the POS and he was just always a part of wherever I was because I was a single parent at the time. It wasn't really, and my parents who were there to help when I needed it, they also work full time. So like during the day when I'm at work and he wasn't in school, it was me, myself, and I and him. And then, so he was literally present for almost every adult interaction that I had while working.
And it just kept on going as he grew up.
Yeah,
being able to talk to people, being able to digest information.
He's a teenager like every other teenager, right? He's becoming his own man right now. He had shy moments, he had non-shy moments.
Yeah.
In his circle, he's a social butterfly, but he operates in a circle, For Bo, I'm gonna rely his mom. His mom is like everything to him. He's a mama's boy, and I love him to death, and I hope he becomes a daddy's boy too. But like, she's with him 24/7, and she is one of those moms who's like, we're not watching TV, we're talking, we're reading books, we're listening to music, we're going outside and we're playing in the grass. So he's always gonna have like that tactile sensation of like doing stuff and not just being stuck inside the walls.
Yeah.
And now she's kind of introducing him. Like we go to dinner, he comes with us obviously. We're not doing babysitters yet. And so we go to a bar, and everybody loves seeing a happy, cute little baby with big cheeky cheeks at a bar. And so they'll start talking to him, and he'll like shy away, and then he'll look back at them and flirt a little bit. So I'm really curious to see how he develops into that person. But I'll tell you right now, man, it's the best thing in the world. Just even starting fresh, which I was kind of scared about, just because like I forgot what I had learned 18 years ago, relearning it. I'm like, oh, whatever. What the fuck were you scared about, big boy? So yeah, and you guys are right on the cusp of going through it too. It's earth shattering and like just also as equally as amazing on the same flip of that coin. Just because it's like shit, it's not just me, myself, and my wife and my dogs anymore. It's another person I have to care for and protect. Protecting being the most vital aspect, in my opinion, of being a father, not just from harm, but like protecting their innocence and protecting their ability to like learn unimpeded by or unencumbered by like outside strains that. We're blessed that we have a life that we've built where like the outside strains of our normal life probably won't affect him as much because one, it doesn't affect us. We don't bring that shit home with us. But two, even if it did, it wouldn't be a conversation that we share with our child. So I think it's just really how people address raising their kids. And I'm never going to tell you how to parent your kids. I won't tell it to anybody, even if they're, in my opinion, some people when they're wrong. That's still not for me to say.
Yeah.
But for me, it just worked. Like I like people, and it was natural for Tristan to kind of like be around those people because he was my like partner in crime. And I'm hoping Bo's a social butterfly. You know, his mom is. She's had the same friends for 30 plus years. She's super social. Like these are people who talk every single day continuously. I want him to have those kind of relationships. Because as a kid, I grew up in California, moving to Pennsylvania. I didn't carry any of those relationships with me. There were no such thing as cell phones. I don't even think beepers were a thing then. Like when I moved here, we had landlines.
Yeah.
I remember nobody's number or address from California, so I started from scratch, and I kind of honed my circle of friends down to like 2 or 3 people that I played paintball with, and I lifted with, and I boxed with, and that was pretty much it for me. And so yeah, man, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely did. I just
14
being,
minutes
you know,
later.
with me and you in the same boat. You like have a kid on the way. I try to just ask as many questions, and that's my biggest thing. Is same thing what my dad did with me. Is you want your son, you want your kid to be a certain type of person, but also trying not to push him. But doing certain things, like for instance, put him at the front desk, doing certain things that you know will work
It won't
to
harm
help.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah, nothing to harm.
And it all can do is help them and help them be, because that's my biggest thing too, is help them to develop to be a good human being at the end of the day.
Yeah, and literally, if we can create good human beings, the rest will follow.
Exactly.
Like other shit like will fall into place. I'm a huge believer in karma, and I'm like, if we're making good humans, like they can't go wrong. The world might try to wrong them, but they're going to be strong enough because we've raised them right to be resilient and kind of push through and persevere through the shit, so they can show the world, hey, listen, thanks for that little speed bump. I've stepped over it now, but I'm still fucking here.
Yeah.
I get emotional talking about it because I really I'm so fucking firm on that.
Well, that's what this whole thing was created for. BOSU stands for building a superior you. So our lifestyle is, how do you continue to build a superior version of yourself every day till you die?
Yeah.
And what is that journey like? You're going to go through pitfalls, like you said. But how do you keep going? And that's kind of like our big thing. How do you keep going? We're asking people like you. We're asking people who have succeeded. Like, come here, watch the video, grab something from you. Somebody from Atlantic City is going to relate to you. But like we had, what was his name again? I'm drawing a blank. What's your partner's name?
Leo.
Yeah, Leo. My bad, Leo. So Leo comes on. People from Atlantic City may not be able to relate to Leo. I don't know Leo. Where you went to the same high school, you've been through some of the shit they've been through. They can see your story and say, oh, I can relate to his qualities. And that's what it's all about. That's what this
And
whole
every
thing's
other
about.
city. It doesn't have to just be AC. Like I said, it's not even just the South Jersey. There's kids in Doylestown who can relate to you. There's kids in Philly who can relate to you. There's kids in Sacramento. There's always a way to relate to somebody.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, we're all human.
Exactly.
And, hey, that's a man, I'm a man.
As a kid, I think it's
But
hard
as a
enough.
kid,
seeing somebody who looks
you're a
like you
super-
or
to those
from
kids,
where you're
it's
from.
a superhero
Exactly.
kind of thing when like these kids are on the field and they're like, he plays in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
and so do all these guys.
Yeah.
And
See
so
this
can
picture of
I.
my school.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, even Absegami. So you're an Absegami alumni, and you've got a project going on that you've allowed us to help with, but you just did that because you wanted to. And that project is you're taking their old lifting room, which like needed some love, and you're giving them all brand new equipment and giving them a space so that the next generation of kids coming through have the proper space to train.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they didn't have the right equipment for it. It was just a little dated, and you wanted it to be a little bit nicer, and it was your alma mater.
Exactly.
Like that kind of shit's huge, and that's a cost to you with no personal reward. It was just you doing it because you wanted to fucking do it. Those are the kind of people who need to step up in all the communities, so that no matter where you're coming from or where you're at, the kids get the benefit of it.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. Is you guys are both right. I've realized that a lot of kids, going to your point, I don't want to say don't listen, has a hard time listening if you haven't been through my same stuff. That's why another thing too is like, especially kids in, I'm just going to say South Jersey because I'm from here and I know people from here. I never try to, you know, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're doing. No, you've been through way different situations than I have. All I can do is, like we said, tell my story.
Mm-hmm.
You learn something from my story, that's great. If you didn't and I didn't help you at all, okay, you tell me your story. Let me try to find somebody who's been through your shoes that can help you. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of kids
Networking.
Exactly. There's not a lot of kids who don't have they don't have parental figures. in their life, and they need someone to help them out. You know, whether it be going to the Boys and Girls Club, whether it be talking
Come here, we'll
exactly,
talk to you.
lifting at Wolf and
Shit, I'll
talking
even
and
plug
doing stuff
Planet
like
Fitness.
that.
Yeah, right now Planet Fitness all summer long, their fucking gym is open to kids for free.
Yeah.
So like, if that's one of those things that you need to get into a spot, just to have a spot to go to and a spot to lift, go to a Planet Fitness, man. That's part of their business model, and I applaud them for it. I wish I could afford to do that. I can't, but like, that's there for kids. I tell people that all the time. You know, we're a premium product space. A lot of people, and we work with people. We donate memberships all the time. But I'm saying if you catch the gym and it's a day that I'm not here, listen right now. Go to a Planet. They will take care of you for the summer. And then when you do catch up with me, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But like, there are opportunities to go to spaces. Like, you don't just have to stay indoors. You don't just have. You can go to a place that's not just a park or a basketball court. You want to lift some weights? Go there.
Yeah.
Come here.
Fitness is the number one thing that helps cure anxiety, depression. Am I right?
I completely agree. It's a healthy amount of endorphins that kind of flush your system with the bad.
And you build confidence.
Yeah, and you do it on a progressively, like, continuous basis. Your body's gonna yearn for that reaction. It's gonna want that chemical symbiosis.
And it's funny you say that because my wife points it out to me, and she's like, "You're a totally different person after you work out." I'm like, "Yeah, because I need to like sometimes I wake up in the morning because I go to work real early, and she can tell like what kind of day I'm having, and I'm all quiet and I'm walking through, and I won't even text her. Like, I'll say, you know, good morning, 'cause especially when I'm in DC, she's here. I'll say good morning, love you, and like that's it. And she's like, okay, like. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but then once I get done workout, I call her like, "Hey, what's up?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you
She's
never
like,
leave the gym in a bad mood.
Exactly. It's the
healthiest drug in the world.
Exactly, healthiest drug in the world, and I couldn't
Self-betterment.
I couldn't tell more people to go out there and whether it be taking a walk, whether it be just being outside, whether it be going to a gym, whether it be going to the basketball, shooting some hoops. It's the best. You'll feel 10 times better afterwards. If you're having a bad day, go to a gym, go work out, go outside, go for a walk. You're gonna have a better day afterward.
I agree.
I agree, and I think that would be the way to end it.